Okay, so hello and welcome to eventhough quick and dirty video. I said it's quick and dirty, so you don't expect I'm actually editing anything in here. So, like I said on Twitter earlier, I was actually installing the Fedora 34 beta on my computer, rather than using it on virtual machine, just like when I was using Haiku. Partly because Fedora is quite a modern operating system and it actually needs a lot more resources to run, and because I am actually kind of miss using Linux. So here it is on its full glory. I will start with the operating system itself first, which is why you are actually having problem listening to me. I'm actually using a headset's microphone right now. It was surprisingly clear though. So I decided to just, okay, go ahead, I'm just going to use it. Because my sound card is not actually detected in here. Sorry, no, it's detected, but not working. So I was expecting my mic because my mic actually has trouble with cables. So I pressed like there's a preloaded sounds right in there. Because again, it's V8 sound card, it's not the best, but you know, it works. I tried that one, but there is no response in there. But in the system or in the OBS, so that's actually going to be a problem. Another one is that I'm a bit confused why Fedora did not actually include .com driver. Probably because it was proprietary, but you know, there is that. In any case though, we are here not to rant about Fedora or anything. We are here to actually test out and try what's GNOME 40 is. And why did it such a big jump? Because we remember that GNOME starts with GNOME 2. Well, no, actually GNOME 1, of course. But most popular one was actually GNOME 2 and GNOME 3. Well, GNOME 2 is pretty much like the usual Windows, you know, Windows thing. It's how does it look, and it's pretty much like Windows, except it has two panels on top and on the bottom. On 3.8, everything is changed because it used to be from left to right system. So like the right side, the left side is the dock. The center is pretty much what you would see on app in expose, pretty much, I would actually say. And on the rightmost part is actually the desktop that is actually available. Usually 4, but this time it actually seems to be automatically added. Now it's actually horizontal. So you got the top panel right here. There's a search bar. It's actually activities. So, and then the pretty much the system bar. Now, it's actually, of course, it's not the desktop. This is the desktop. So that's actually what it is actually called activities screen. It's already there since GNOME 3.8. And now it's GNOME 40. I was wondering why did it such a jump? Well, let's start with the all apps view. I just installed the operating system, so you don't expect a lot of applications here, except for OBS Studio and Krita. Because where is Krita? Here it is Krita. Because that's the app that I was about to try in here. Probably going to use it for drawing mostly. So from here you can probably see what's actually be different. If it's Mac OS, it's actually probably going to be called Launchpad, but it's not. It's actually just all apps pretty much. All programs actually. And also because I was drunk enough, I'm installing it in German. Using German language. I don't know why. But there is that. You guys probably already know that I actually kind of speak German, but not really. Okay, as you can see, there is... Oh, okay, there is something new. Or not so new. I do remember, I think GNOME 3.7 or 3.5, I forgot, actually shows indicator for apps that's actually running. But it was not starting GNOME 3.0. GNOME 3.0 didn't actually have that kind of indicator, other than on the dock, like this. Okay, so design-wise, it got a lot of rounded corners here. Like this part it's actually unnecessarily rounded, but I love rounded corners. It's pretty soft and it looks cool. So it's already there since the beginning, but there is a lot more rounded corners, I suppose. Like the one here in the desktop is actually also rounded corners. And the dock is actually pretty rounded on itself. So there's a lot more rounding here. The app itself doesn't really much more other than like they actually seems to be updating the icons here for the GNOME applications. Let's try open calculator. Taschenrechner or Taschenrechner, which means tables calculator. So standard, and I think they have scientific, weighted modus, more advanced modus, I suppose. Financial, programmer, and tastature. Tastature is keyboard. Oh yeah, it's keyboard. So yeah, design-wise doesn't actually change that much, except the fact that like this part, the hamburger bar actually seems to be a lot more raised, so you can actually see that it's actually a button. It's actually kind of a bit of feeling in space. Like my first impression about material design on Android is actually kind of feel like what I was experiencing in GNOME 40 here. They actually seems to really care about material a lot more right here. Even though there's, as you can see, there's like some gradients in here, it's pretty much feeling like Mac OS in a nutshell. But everything else actually feels very, very GNOME. Like the fact that it also indents inside. So I actually forgot what is that this kind of design language is called, but it's actually have a name. Well, there you go. I was supposed to know about it, but I don't. Anyway, so overall, okay, from the icons, I like the aesthetic of it. It's not really flat, alright? It's still have some kind of depth in it. It's kind of like, if it's actually made by Apple, or I'm just gonna go ahead and compare it with Windows 10's new icons, which is with Fluent UI, and Apple's Big Sur icons, which is also kind of like iOS, Mac OS-ish, so they have the two together pretty much. Which also turns into that quite bizarre battery icon, but now they actually changed to like normal battery icon now. So everything seems to be very, very much rounded well. Even the OBS Studio, as you can see there, the outer ring is actually a lot more visible, and then there is like a little bit of shadow inside of it. Krita actually didn't affect anything because Krita actually used the UI elements of KDE. It's actually installs KDE environment in the GNOME because it's actually running Krita. Anything else though? Looks very, very general actually. It's quite general. So let's say opening this one is actually Test Manager, which looks a lot like macOS, but it's pretty general right now. The design for Task Manager is like this. Ooh, this icon though, it's actually pretty dated. I remember this like ages ago. They haven't changed the icon though for the upload and download. Everything else seems to be pretty much normal. The tie system or the hard drive, I suppose, processes, which I can actually delete. Close from here, but I will not. So yeah, the feel of it now, it's actually pretty nice, but then again, it actually reminds me of another operating system. So I've been saying that it looks like Mac OS or iPad OS, but if it actually resembles something, it will be actually HP's WebOS on their HP tablet back then, when I think it's around 2010 or so. I think it's around 2010 or earlier than 2010, maybe 2009, 2008-ish, before the advent of iPad pretty much. This and oh, actually, after the advent of iPad, actually, I think after the first iteration of iPad, which actually then it starts the tablet boom, I suppose, where pretty much every smartphone developer, sorry, every smartphone manufacturer will actually make some kind of tablet out of it. Samsung is one of them, actually still does. HP, Dell still does, but it's actually convertible now. And I think HTC, yeah, it's HTC. They actually made some too. And Blackberry, if you remember Blackberry Playbook, that's actually a tablet, isn't it? So Blackberry and HP actually have kind of similar design language for the interface. They would show the app in on top like this, but this one is actually more like expose rather than, you know, the showing the app. But when I show this actually what makes it a lot more resembling to WebOS and Blackberry Playbook's KNX OS, pretty much Playbook OS, I think that's officially called. So yeah. Now the implication about this actually when you are actually running it on a big screen. So if you are running it on like maybe a full 4K full HD, like maybe 4K 2560 by 1440 or 2K, it actually looks a little bit overwhelming because it feels the icon is definitely going to feel really big. That's actually going to be a problem in here. And although I actually don't think it's actually going to be a problem when it's on expose like this, because with this you can actually see everything and you don't need to open the app pretty much will on the screen, because maybe you minimize something, you don't want to be it in there, but you're actually going to check it from time to time. Then this is probably going to be a time saver of it. Which is the same with expose in Mac OS and maybe Windows actually now called test switching or something. Although in Windows, I have to say, the test switching didn't actually show the real-time view of the window. So you will only get screenshot and then it's saved on a like database or something. I didn't really had enough time to know about that since I'm using Mac OS now most of the times. In other side though, okay, let's see another app. So install settings. The settings itself is not really that much of a change from from GNOME 3.8. It still feels like GNOME. Well, it is a GNOME, but everything else seems to be very normal. So this is my system, Fedoga 34. It's actually still beta using GNOME 40, and this is my tablet. Yeah, ThinkPad X220. So yeah. Oh, there is one thing too though. I'm not sure if it's actually going to show up or not on OBS, but I'm going to try it anyway. It actually rotates the screen very quickly. It's probably on the Fedora side instead of the GNOME side. By the way, I'm using GNOME XR rather than Wayland, just because Wayland didn't actually work well using OBS. So I have actually to use XR here. Let's see. Okay, on XR, it's actually take a lot more longer to actually switch between quotations. But here's the catch. Sorry, not the catch. Here's another thing too. Since I was actually using it as a tablet, like this, I'm using a tablet right now. I'm using a pen. And opening settings, it actually feels good. So, all in all, the interfaces actually looks and feel like a tablet OS, except that the fact is, it's not. It's also, you can also use it on touchpad, you can also use mouse, and it's pretty much like, you know, the feeling of using Windows 8, but actually kind of better than Windows 8 because you don't have gestures and things like that. Everything's still laid out pretty much goodly. Unfortunately though, they didn't actually automatically turn on the keyboard here, so I actually have to go to barrier sky height or accessibility and turn on the build stream taskbar or on-screen keyboard like this. Ah. So all in all, okay, wait, let's try opening Krita because that's actually a bit of different language UI too. Okay, starting. Oh my god, I really love using Linux because it's really quick. I was supposed to be able to just maximize it, right? Probably need to use the mouse on that because my my pen's not actually the very user. Okay, here's the thing too. It's actually already there since the first time GNOME 3.5, I suppose. But if you go to the Wacom tablet settings, you can actually test the settings too in here. And it actually can also show your pressure, so like this. It actually shows your pressure in there, so you can actually test if the settings actually feeling good enough. If you're happy with it, close it and you can start working on it. Let's say, yeah, sure. Man, it's been ages since I actually used Krita, so I'm probably going to jitter around a bit. Yeah, it's been really ages since I actually draw myself, so I'm not going to demo drawing actually, but all in all though, the feel of it on the GNOME itself is actually pretty good experience. Especially if you are using convertible like me, which is actually going to be a lot more usable using, yeah, okay, to be honest, I still thinking that's actually more or less a tablet operating system. The interface feels like tablet. However, again, I think I'm going to rewind a little bit and say that I'm actually really love minimalism. So this is the fact pretty much like minimalism, but still looks pretty rich. It's still full of features and things you actually need to try. Unfortunately, some of the things that I can demo is actually the touchpad gestures because my touchpad is actually dead. And my tablet is actually didn't actually have any touch screen. So my tablet actually only using Wacom pen only. I'm probably thinking about changing the screen with something that's actually use Wacom and finger, but it's pretty expensive, so I don't think I'm actually going to do that. However, because of how it looks, wait. Oh, it's actually takes some time, isn't it? Or it just don't like it when it was in activity set view. Let's see. Oh yeah, it just don't like it when I was using it in activities view. So now I'm using it as the tablet. Oh, okay. Using scroll on this also works too. There's a lot of interesting things in here actually, honestly. So yeah, if you actually like Linux and if you want to try it, you probably better up just trying it. I actually buffed when I was using it because again, it feels really good. It feels, well, homely, I suppose. I still feel like it still is having that kind of sense that you are using GNOME, but it feels really different too. So it feels like both using GNOME and not using GNOME at the same time. It does have a little bit of learning curve from using, the fact that you are going from a vertical style of workspace, which is from left to right, going to horizontal style, which is using from top to bottom things. But I still feel this is an improvement in a way or another. And this is coming from someone who is using a Mac too, which is probably making it a lot worse actually. Because people say that Macintosh users are actually pretty dumb, which, well, I can't say it's a yes or a no, but all in all though, it feels pretty good. I will actually use this as my daily driver. It's really quick to boot. That's actually the first thing that I actually like really appreciate. The fact that it's actually going to turn on from cold boot into pretty much up and running in probably less than 15 seconds. Even though I was using hard drive. That's fast. Okay. And I guess that's all. I can't say anything more about this, honestly. This feels, well, it is what it is pretty much. To know what it feels like, you actually really need to just try it, okay? There is 3 options for you to actually able to use it. You either can use, like me, I'm using Fedora 34 beta. You can actually download GNOME OS, the nightly build version, or you can use OpenSUSE. I actually thinking how to actually pronounce it, and I actually making a poll on Twitter for that. Oh yeah, Twitter poll. Okay, wait. I actually remember making a poll earlier about it. Wait, let me put on Twitter. I actually made a poll on Twitter about the fact that we are using. Sorry, not the fact that we are using. The fact that GNOME is actually looks like a tablet OS. So I actually asked Twitter about it. So some of them actually, I asked them one thing. What do you think of GNOME 40? Because again, it's from 2, 3 to 40 somehow. It looks like tablet UI is pretty much the toughest. Other ones actually I never use GNOME, which probably reasonable because a lot of people actually probably not using GNOME but using KDE. KDE is a lot more lighter in a way or another. It's a bit weird. And this another one is they keep changing it. I feel like they didn't actually keep changing it. This one is actually a bigger slip of every other version. And it feels good. I actually like the use of it. So yeah, I think it's actually, yeah, I'm going to end this here. It's almost 2 a.m. and I probably need to sleep. So this is going to be a quick look on the GNOME 40. There's probably going to be a more in-depth video, but rather than focusing on operating systems or interface, it's probably going to be a general version of it. So like, I'm going to talk about the whole, not operating system, the whole graphical user interface, starting from the first to the pretty much right now. So yeah, I guess that's all. Thank you for watching, and where is OBS? Wait, where's OBS? Oh, here we go. So, bye!